The theme for the verse for Luke 6 is longing to be invited. In this verse, we are introduced to the 12 men that Jesus called to be his disciples. Here, just to make it easy, I'll list them alphabetically. We have Andrew, Bartholomew, James, John, Judas. Okay, they weren't super creative with names during this time period, were they? Matthew, Philip, Simon, seriously? And Thomas. Let's say it faster. Andrew, Bartholomew, James, John, Judas, Matthew, Philip, Simon, and Thomas. And faster. Andrew, Bartholomew, James, John, Judas, Matthew, Philip, Simon, and Thomas. And faster! Just kidding. And what we learn from this story is that names matter, and that being invited, being called by name, is important. Because Jesus invited them, they in turn invited others into a community that taught them to love and to care for people better. And since then, people for centuries have learned that lesson too. Because of that, we are invited to continue to invite others into a community where we get better at loving. By prioritizing names and the invitation to be together, we do something different than what society expects of us, and we prioritize people in the community we have together. And that is the start of being the change that we want to see in the world.
Pretty cool. Pretty special. Kind of what it feels like happened that got me here, and it's neat. I'm just grateful. I would, as describe it as being seen or known, or just kind of, heard. My need for a safe, loving place was answered.
Whenever I think about what it feels like to be called by name, I think of this really early camp experience where I had been going to camp for a few years, and it was probably like my third or fourth year, and I was in middle school, and it was the first day of camp, and I got there and I hadn't introduced myself to many people yet, but the staffer ran up to me and said, "Hope, you're here!" And I don't think I ever felt more noticed or seen than that. I kind of go back to that moment for what I think it means to me to be seen or known or called by name, and it felt so special. I'm a twin, so I was often in my childhood called Hope and Megan, and there's really awesome things that come from being a twin, but to be known and for people to be excited that I was there felt really special, and I hope I can do that for others.
I think especially if I'm not expecting it, especially if it's someone who I didn't know knew my name, it's surprising and it gets my attention pretty quickly. It helps me to be more present. Sometimes, if people are talking over me or just don't hear what I'm saying, there are some days that just, it seems like the frequency of my voice or something, just people don't hear things that I'm saying, or maybe I'm talking too quietly, but I definitely notice if people are not hearing me or seeing me, but it feels good when they do.
It feels nice and loved and accepted to be called by name when you just accept it, because it means that the person is thinking about you.
I think it feels nice when someone calls you by name. You don't expect it, especially when you don't know their name. Today I didn't know somebody's name, and they had known me, and apparently we had a lot of classes together, and I went up and I asked them their name because I wanted to know. And they were kind of taken aback by that, and I felt bad, but I walked away from it being like, but I know their name, and I can at least build towards creating a connection with them more authentically now. So, yeah, I don't know how I might have felt, but yeah, it's nice to now call them by their name.
I think when I got done with college, a lot of my friends were deciding to go to graduate school or deciding to stay to live longer in the city where our college was, or they were going into jobs, and I didn't really have a sense for what I wanted to do next. But that summer I did decide to come here to Camp Magruder in Oregon, and it just felt like a feeling in the pit of my stomach where it was a good place to be. And since then, I've really felt like it was not just a good place to be, it was the place that I needed to be. And I always kind of look back at that time as a time where I gave myself space to not know what was next, and it felt like I was drawn in the direction I needed to be.
Normally, I feel drawn towards people more. I remember a specific time in fifth grade, I don't know how old I was. I was little, but I remember there was this one person in my class that was like, I want to be your friend, and I don't know how to do that. And I was really shy, but for some reason, I just was drawn to that person. And that happens a lot. Like, I'll meet people and I'll just like notice their energy is a little different than other people, or that they seem to kind of be on a similar wavelength to me, and so they like understand things I say even if other people are like, that doesn't make any sense.
When I was growing up, my brother was like my favorite person, and I would follow him around and do whatever he did. And if he was riding bikes, then I rode bikes. And if he was playing outside, I wanted to play outside. And there came a time when he was in late middle school and high school when he didn't enjoy having his sister tag along with him anymore. And there were several years where we just weren't close. And I remember that really being really sad to me. And I remember talking to my mom about it a lot and trying to understand what was happening. And yeah, it's definitely really scary to be left out and to feel like maybe you're not wanted there, or yeah, that your presence isn't as wanted as you want to be a part of whatever is happening.
So I was not invited to this outing that my brother got to go on with my grandma. She invited him to go to the midnight release book signing of the 7th Harry Potter book. I think it was at Powell's in Portland, so it was like a really big deal. And it was really exciting because it was the last book in the series and like everyone loved it. And I really liked Harry Potter, and Gabriel was like not a huge fan of it, but you know, he had seen the movies and he thought it was cool. And I was really sad that I was not invited to go because I loved Harry Potter. And I asked my mom why I couldn't go, and she said that it was a thing for my brother to do with my grandma. And so I was sad, and I went in my room and drew pictures of all the Harry Potter characters and like showed my grandma when she came to pick up my brother, because that was my way of dealing with it when I was in like 3rd grade or 2nd grade or something. And I was sad about it. I really wanted to go, and like I stayed up until they got back because I was like, I could totally stay up this late. They don't know what they're talking about. And when they came back, my brother had this like fancy signed copy of this Harry Potter book, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool, I want to read it, and he wouldn't let me read it. And I had to wait like a year before I got my own copy and could read it. But that's like a sibling thing, I guess. It's not very nice.
I feel like growing up, I was invited to like a lot of like class birthday parties, which at the time like sometimes made me mad, but also sometimes it was just like I was fine with it. It was like I didn't like really know the classmate very well. Well, oftentimes it was like if everyone else was invited, like why wasn't I? Like this feeling of like FOMO of like if I'm not invited, like what am I missing out on?
I think with enthusiasm and compassionate open arms, and also an understanding of wherever they may be at, and a want to meet them where they're at. Kind of like nudge if needed, kindly.
I think a wonderful way to invite people into your community is to ask them about what brings them joy. It's also an option to ask them what makes them uncomfortable. That can often make them uncomfortable. And that's often a great way to befriend someone, but I think it's better to ask them first what brings them joy. And ask them why, and get to know why for real. And don't let them off the hook with a incomplete answer.
Making sure people know that you mean it when you invite them that's gonna go a long ways.
The best way is by like personal like conversation, such as like a letter or like a text or like a phone call, because a personal connection from someone you know means more than like a poster about like something you see on Facebook, because it means to the other person that you want them to come join you in this. You want them to join you in a different circle of their life, and that takes courage.